Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So, how are you today? Welcome to day number 30 of World Watercolor Month. Woohoo! I can't believe it that we are actually on the second to the last day. And oh, I don't even know what to say. I can't believe it. It has flown by, but I have learned so much and have enjoyed so much being here that, as you know, I'm already trying to dream up ways to figure out what I can do next because this has just been a really great time and, really such a learning experience for me. And I want you all to know that I love seeing your work so much. It inspires me every time and makes me so tickled that I can't even begin to really tell you. So, today, oh, and I want to mention really fast, Deborah, I see you here, and I wanted to tell you I saw your card in Rubber Stamp Madness. It is so cute. So I'm going to post it later today along with Jackie Grace. She was also in there. So, yeah, so good. You stayed up late getting makey. I love it. I have been really, really busy in the studio with well, I've had guests, as you know. Our friend Estrella has been here, and that's been wonderful. She's actually leaving today, so she's not here yet. She's going to come by and say goodbye, and we'll visit a little bit. But it's been great having her here, and I've also had or I have some awesome news to share with all of you very, very soon. So, RubberMoon has just been on, such a journey the past 7 years. I'm going into my seventh year as owner of RubberMoon. It'll be 7 years in September. And when I say I have such a great way to celebrate our seventh year, I just cannot wait to tell you. So I have to keep you interested and excited. I can't tell you just yet, but I promise the news will be worth waiting for. I'm very excited. Anyway, I digress, and I am just doing this now. So we're going to go ahead and get to day number 30. And I won't lie to you. This morning I came in, well, I was actually working very late in the studio, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to show for today because most of the time it's been fairly spontaneous. And I really was having a lot of trouble. I usually don't get stumped very much when it comes to ideas. But I just feel like, I didn't want to keep showing you the same old things over and over. But at the same time, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know what's new and exciting to show them. So we're just going to watercolor an image similarly to how we've been doing, but we're going to change it up just a bit. We're going to use one stamp to create the whole composition. And we're going to really splash it up. So here I have a couple samples that are, I'm not super thrilled about them, but I love the stamp and I love the idea. So I'm going to be here with you, just showing you how I did this, but hopefully making it better because these were just little test runs. So this is Kim Geyser stamp from her new collection. And again, I'm sorry about the way that this looks. This is just my own personal indexing stamp. I couldn't find my good copy, so we're just using the indexing stamp, but it doesn't really matter because this is the only thing that matters right here. Excuse me. I am going to be working on the same paper, 300-pound cold press watercolor paper. And again, just using one stamp. Now, obviously on this one, I just pretty much stamped it one time, and then I went in and did some of my own little, mark making or my own little additions to this piece here. But then this one, I just stamped 3 times, and I used sort of an unexpected color as the base color, which this is what I'm going to recreate this piece pretty much. The only thing is that this is a little bit larger, so, it's going to turn out different again. But those are my inspirations. And again, just turning, I've been sort of just going back to my sort of small half pan classic set from Core, just because it's easy. I like the colors that are in the palette, and it has everything I need right here. So that's what I'm grabbing. I also want to tell you something else exciting, at least for me. I hope it is for you too. Good morning, Tracy. Nice to see you. So I would have been waiting on this package. So I was just invited to become a silver brush educator, which I'm really, really excited about because one of the things I get asked about the most is brushes and like what types of brushes, what size of brushes. So we're actually Silver Brush is going to be giving us a full on education. We're going to be actually taking classes on how brushes are made, what what types are best for what types of mark making and all that sort of stuff. So that is coming in the end of August. But in the meantime, they sent me some samples, and I want to tell you, I am absolutely enthralled with this brush. You all know that I love my Princeton long round number 8, and so this is what they sent me that's comparable, and it is fantastic. I Well, first of all, it's beautiful. Okay, I mean, I know we shouldn't be sucked in by by the marketing, but I can't help it. It's a beautiful purple handle, and then I guess the this is called the Silver Silk, and so it's all synthetic, which I love because I'm vegan, and so I wanted something that was synthetic and not, animal hair, not yeah, animal hair. So this is all synthetic, but the brush, uh, you know, the actual brush is silver, so it's gorgeous, and it comes to that nice point, the same as my Princeton long round, but I don't know. There's something a little bit different about the flexibility, and I really, really like it. So be watching for me to be obviously using more of this brush and in this brand and reporting back to you because, of course, I would not change or recommend something that I don't, that I don't like or use. So I hope you'll follow me on this journey. I'm very excited about the whole process and about learning more about brushes because that's something, even with an art major, that you just figure out on your own. So this will be great, and I can't wait to share all the information with all of you. All right, so enough digressing, right? Um, so I'm going to apply my paint to my stamp like I've been doing every day, but I'm using a little bit different of a base color, which I think would be a little more unexpected. And that is this transparent pyrrole orange. And I'm working kind of wet. You see how thick I got that. um, not really wet, but a lot of paint because I really wanted a good amount of color to go down on there. And I even got it a little juicier. And now I'm going to do it again. Let's see, I might mask off a little bit here just because, again, I had a little more room on this larger one. So I don't know how I'm going to like that composition or not, but I guess it's okay. Kind of want to fill in a little bit more. Well, I guess I can also fill in, obviously, with my brush and stuff like that, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just add a little more there. And maybe one more time up here. All right. Well, that looks a little bit better. And remember, you're probably going, well, I shouldn't say probably, but you may be working on a larger piece, such as a journal page, or, just I am restricting myself to this size for this whole project. So obviously I may, change up the side size based on what, my needs are, but this is good for now. So like I said, I kind of I did my base stamping, my under my oh, what am I calling it? My base layer, my undercoat in that bright orange. And it's pretty strong. So a lot of that may end up coming through. I think on this one, I didn't stamp it quite as, with quite as much color. So it's a little bit easier to cover, but that's okay. And here I'm going to be using a little bit of my green gold in this palette here, and then pulling from a little bit of my like olive greens and stuff like that. And we're just going to paint pretty loosely. Like I said, it's kind of fun to understamp with sort of an unexpected color. I think a lot of times people don't think to use a color like this in watercolor because you feel like you can't really cover it up. And in some ways you probably can't, but the mixtures and the subtleties that you get from doing this is kind of fun, and definitely fun to experiment and play around with. And on the screen, it's looking really black. In person, it is definitely not black. I don't know if you can see the subtleties of greens in there or not, but I do see that it's reading very dark on the screen. And that's okay. You can always, of course, go back in and pull some of the darkness out if you want to. One thing, this red, if you wanted to make your little mushrooms red, it's really nice because this is a very opaque red, so it will really cover. And for those of you who have experimented with watercolor, and gouache would be another really fun thing to do this with, because gouache is basically watercolor, but it's very opaque. So if you have some gouache and you want to pull that out and play around with that with the same technique, gouache will work really well doing the same things that we've been doing throughout Watercolor Month. So again, working with this red, this is light, or let's see, Pyrrole Red Medium, I believe. Where am I? Yes, Pyro Red Medium. I actually remembered a really beautiful red and very, like I said, very opaque. So a great color for coverage. Oh, I'm working pretty wet, and of course I let that bleed into this area over here. So I'll just take a little clean dry paper towel and give a little blot. All right, so everything right now is still pretty darn wet. So I'm going to be trying to avoid these areas, letting it dry just a little bit, and I'm going to go into my background color, and I'll start in with that just a little bit. Oop. Remember, I'm getting a dry, thirsty brush and pulling some of that water back out just so it won't run everywhere. I don't want a lot of the wet paint to be running into some of the other areas that are still not very manageable. And as I'm sort of doing this, as I am sort of, you've seen me stitch little areas together. Um, so as I'm sort of pulling this all together, I'll see little areas that I want to go back in and change up. If certain colors do start to run together, I'll just watch them to make sure it's not making mud, to make sure it's making a combination that, that I like. And to me, I know this is not, it's more like a garden type scene, I guess, but it's sort of starting to take on like a little bit of an underwater feel, which, I kind of like. I like that it looks a little dreamy. Some of the areas I don't know if you can see it very well. Um, some of the teal is mixing with a little bit of that orange and of the green and making sort of its own little patina kind of color, but I like it. And I think that's part of what's giving it that underwater sort of feel. And just filling in wherever, wherever I see needs some of that little background color. I'm blotting away where need be because I don't want it to be too like strong in certain areas. All right. I'm gonna pull in a little bit of this transparent brown oxide. And I am letting it sort of blossom a little bit into that teal color. I like it, gives it like a little earthiness. And again, a little bit of that sort of ethereal underwater feel, which I wasn't really going for, but I like. Deepening the values a little bit in this, in some of these little background areas. Again, I know you can't, it's sort of hard to see sometimes because of the glare, but here I have a little bit of overstamping, so I'm going to end up darkening that and making that recede back. I think I'm going to do a few more of these little detail areas as this starts to dry up because I don't want it to bleed into everything everywhere. So I need to do these little spirals and some of these little dots. And I think for the little dots, which I kind of feel are like bubbles, I'm going to try some white gouache, but if I don't like the way it looks, I'm going to switch it up and do something darker. I'm going to try this first. Yeah, so I think I like the little white bubbles. We'll try it. The main thing is, well, I'm doing that, but it really needs to be super dry. So I'll have to wait on that a little bit longer too. Some of them were fine, but some of them are still a little bit wet. So going back in and that my red kind of lightened up as it dried. So I'm going to go back in and lay down another layer of my Pyro Red Medium. Made it a little bit darker of a teal by mixing some of the teal with some of my, oh, what is this blue again? This is, and I can't remember again, phthalo blue green shade. You'd think I would remember by now. I'm mixing up a little bit of that with my teal to do a little bit of darker. And I'm going to use that same darker color, I think, back here. Remember, deeper values will help more. So I'm just deepening some of these areas a little bit. And right now, I know on camera it looks really like kind of a mess just because of all that glare, but it's getting there. Now I need to figure out what color do I want my stem or my mushroom stems to be. And I'm feeling like I want them to be a little bit yellow, maybe with a little bit of this transparent pyrrole or transparent brown oxide again. It's sort of an earthy, light kind of color. And now my white gouache again. And I want to show this to you because this is, I want something really, really sort of opaque, but yet still acting like a watercolor. I've been using this Holbein gouache, white gouache. And that's what I have squeezed in this little tube or in this little dish right here. And I think I'm going to use a dark, like a, I don't know, I'm going to try a sap green, which is just more of a darker sort of grass green. I'm going to try that in this area here just to see how I like it. Again, things are still pretty wet right in the center part, so not sure how I'm going to like that. I like it pretty okay. And then start to make just a few of my own little marks too. All right, and everything is pretty like loose and wet still in there. So I'm going to sort of try to let it dry as much as I can while I'm still sitting here painting and talking. So I'll go ahead and maybe try to fill in some of those white dots wherever I can. And I do want you to remember that many watercolor painters do not believe in using white of any type. So this would not be considered like a fine art method for sure. Okay. I am a mixed media artist, so I'm okay with it. But some schools of art do not prescribe to use white in their work at all. So if you want this to someday be considered for, the art museum, you probably don't want to use white. All right, the rest of them have to wait because it is still a little bit too wet. So I'll try my hardest to maybe go over and do a little bit of, maybe just a little shading here or there. I'm going to use a little bit of Payne's Gray and really wash it out, or, make it sort of a wash, and try to do a few little touches for a little bit of depth, I guess. And just remember that the key, just like with anything that you're doing, is really layering it up and creating your values to just sort of make things really pop. And plus, it's just fun. And then finally, I still will go in and do some of my little white touches. Like I said, I want to, but I really have to let it dry. You can also do things, of course, like we've been doing all along, and add in some other of your own little touches to create more atmosphere. And voila, you have a complete painting with pretty much just one stamp. And of course, you could set about doing it with stamping it in really whatever color that you feel comfortable and that you want to, sort of have stand out. Now, I really like that orange sort of as my outline. I think it is a fun, kind of unexpected color, and I like it. The only thing I really do still feel I want to do is I don't know, something with the stems of the mushrooms. And I'm using a little bit of the teal to give it a little bit of an outline, and again using sort of an unexpected color to do my shading, or adding a little depth there. And so then again, finally, last and not least, oops, butterfingers, I will go in and address doing a lot of those little bubbles. And I think I am going to do them in white, although some of the, some of them I could do in a darker color too. So that's just really up to you. And if you wanted to, you could add a little bit more of a sort of that same underwater feel by doing a few bubbles, either, or, not bubbles, but a little splatter stamps, or splattering with your splatter stamp. Do I have one here to show you? I do somewhere here. Hold on. Like this kind of a thing, if you feel like it needs it. Now, maybe if I was working on something larger, then I would, but this is pretty busy, so I don't feel like I would need it. But, you can add, of course, a little more texture and things like that with either like your burst stamp or a stamp like this if you want to. So that, my friends, is getting a whole composition with one stamp. And I think I do kind of like this one the best out of all of them. I don't know. Let me get them all in the frame here. I get so turned around when I'm looking at the monitor like that. So yeah, this would be really fun to add like a little fairy to. Definitely can see one of Joni Hallmark's little fairies up in these mushrooms, or like a little gnome or something like that. So super fun. Another great way to splash your stamps, I hope. And day 30, what can I say? Oh my gosh. So I have to figure out something for tomorrow. If you have any suggestions or ideas or thoughts about tomorrow, please definitely let me know. I did love this brush, just so you know. So if you are a brush lover like me, then it won't hurt your feelings a bit to add another one to your collection. So yeah, I'll keep you posted on how I'm liking this. This is a number 8, which is what I usually use, but I am going to invest in a couple other sizes. I've been dying for a number 6, so I think I'm going to buy a 6 in this brand. They also sent me this beautiful, lovely number 26, which I'm really excited about using for when I do a big painting. Woohoo! So not on these little guys, although I'm surprised I don't try it. But yeah, isn't it just gorgeous? I just am in love with the brush itself. Anyway, all right, I digress. Thank you so much for joining me for day number 30 of Watercolor Month. It has been more than a pleasure being here, and I will look forward to tomorrow, and we'll wrap this baby up. And I can't think of anything else I need to tell you, so I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but if I am, I'll come back tomorrow and tell you. Thank you so much again. Have a wonderful day. I hope you get to get makey and go splash your stamps. Mwah. Love you to the moon and back. Bye.